Hi! Now, the fact that you're here tells me that you're interested in learning how to sing and maybe even teaching yourself how to sing. And you might be wondering, what those things are that they don't tell you about teaching yourself how to sing. Well, in this episode, I've got you covered with the 5 elements of the perfect training ground so that you can make great progress throughout your singing journey. And this is most of the time the things that they don't tell you about when you are looking to teach yourself how to sing. So let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself become the best versions of themselves through singing. And in these episodes, you're going to get practical exercises, techniques, tools, insights around singing to really up-level your singing skills. So here's what people don't really tell you about teaching yourself how to sing and what you need to have in place to actually make real progress throughout your singing journey. There's 5 in total. The first one is consistency. Many singers, when they start off singing, or when they're teaching themselves to sing, they're learning about a particular vocal technique, and then they think, okay, check, I got it. I know how to breathe. Check. Diaphragmatic breathing. I did an exercise. Move on to the next one. I get where that's coming from. However, our aim as singers is to have those different techniques in our muscle memory, so that when we're singing in public, whether that's at a karaoke party, whether that's on stage, whether that's in a choir, we don't want to be thinking about, oh, do I need to activate my mixed voice here? Or do I need to activate my breath support here? Or what about my twang? We don't want to be thinking about all of those things. No, we just want to have fun. We want to tell our musical story. We want to connect with our listener. And we can only do that when those vocal techniques are absorbed into our muscle memory so that it comes almost automatically when we're singing. And in order for those techniques to get into our muscle memory, what do we need? Repetition. We need to be consistent about practicing some kind of vocal technique so that our muscle memory absorbs it. And that's why in the Singing Insiders, we have those vocal workouts that you can sing on a regular basis to really absorb all those different vocal techniques. Now, when teaching yourself to sing, it's easy to skip a practice or getting discouraged or not being motivated to actually practice. When you have a one-on-one coach that you work with, for example, and you have a set date in the calendar of this is when I have my date with this person, you're more likely to actually show up. And that's where this second element comes in. Accountability. It is so hard to stay self-motivated when you're at this all by yourself. So having some kind of accountability system is exactly what you need in order to keep making progress and in order to stay consistent. And this accountability system, can be maybe fellow singers that you check in with once a week, once a month. It could be yourself. It could be that you're actually putting a date with yourself in your calendar and then holding yourself accountable to that. Or maybe you're sharing your goals with your partner or your spouse or your children, and they hold you accountable. There's been a study by the Association for Talent Development, and they found that you are 95% more likely to achieve a goal when you're being held accountable. 95%, that is mind-blowing to me. So find yourself an accountability system so that you can keep on making progress throughout your singing journey. So we had consistency, we have accountability. Community is a third one. Community is oftentimes underrated because, we all talk about Facebook communities or Instagram communities and a group on Facebook, that's beautiful, but we forget why communities are so impactful at times. So there's this beautiful quote that says, "You are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with." When we take that as a truth, and we look at, and I invite you to do the same, I invite you to look at who are those 5 people for you? Who are the 5 people that you spend the majority of your time with? Maybe that's your kids, your spouse. Who else? Who else is in that group of 5 people? And once you've identified those 5, I encourage you to really be honest with yourself and ask yourself the question, do those 5 people lift you up, inspire you? Do they motivate you to dream big? Do they believe in you? Do they encourage you? Do they make you feel amazing and confident? Or do they bring you down by criticizing you, by judging you, by doubting your abilities, by doubting your big goals and dreams that you've set up for yourself? How do these people influence you and your mood on a daily basis? And then the next question is, can you imagine what would be possible for you when you're part of this community that lifts you up on a daily basis? And what would that make as a difference throughout your singing journey and life? That's the power of community. Now, if this was super valuable for you so far, I really invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you can keep on being updated on new episodes just like this one coming out in the future. Now, the main elements actually still have to be covered, so let's continue. We had consistency, accountability, community. The 4th one is feedback. Oftentimes, singers, they want to learn something, which is great. They're singing a particular vocal technique, which is great, but then you need to know, am I actually implementing this in the right way? In other words, is what I'm doing right? Am I doing it correctly? You only have one voice. It's not like a guitar that when it breaks, you can go to the guitar shop and get a new one. No, that's not possible. So you only have one voice. We need to take care of it. And when you're using your voice, we need to make sure that you're using it in the right way. Again, that's why we have a team of coaches in the Singing Insiders at your service to give you that feedback, because that is such an important part of the process. And your voice is way too valuable to just mess it up and not use any feedback. Also, many singers that worked with one-on-one coaches, they get that feedback while they're in the session, but then once they're home implementing what they've learned, that feedback disappears. And there's a disconnect there. We don't want to have that. That brings me to the 5th and most important element, which is training. And more specifically, the right type of training. So in my approach to singing, the right type of training is the one that fits you and your voice the best. Sounds logic, right? However, not everyone gets that. There are different methodologies that teach you how to sing. You have the famous ones are CVT, complete vocal technique, a still voice training, universal voice. Like, those are the big known ones. I actually was taught in many of them. And sometimes they even contradict each other, which made it even more confusing. But what I ended up doing was taking all the elements from all these methodologies that fit me and my voice. And that's the approach I invite you to take. Go through the methodology that fits you and your voice the best. Our methodology, the vocal freedom method, is one that focuses on technique, obviously, because you need to know how how to use your voice. And it goes way beyond technique. So if we're looking at CVT as still universal voice, their one and only focus is vocal technique. Our methodology has the technique part and the trust part, which is all about creating that inner confidence, the inner freedom, because how do you expect to sing freely if you're still being held back by insecurities? So that inner work is an important part of the puzzle, and what I call the truth part. And the truth is really looking at how you can creatively and freely express yourself as you. So think about storytelling, adding emotions in a song, improvising, singing a song in your own unique and authentic way so that you're not a copycat. Unless that's what you want to be, if you have a tribute band or something. So finding the right type of training is so, so important. So let me recap. We have consistency, accountability, we have community, feedback, and training. Those are the 5 elements that you really need to have in place in order to make real and fast progress throughout your singing journey. And unfortunately, these are not the things that are talked about so much when you're teaching yourself how to sing. Now, as you can see, the training aspect is a big one. We talked about that. And the technique aspect within the training aspect is a very important topic. Mixed voice is one of the most important vocal techniques for you to master, because mixed voice will allow you to sing anything you want, high notes, low notes, with lots of power and without tension or hoarseness. So that really is the holy grail of vocal techniques, and that deserves its separate conversation. So I will link a video in the description here down below that I invite you to click on once you finish this episode, because that next episode all around mixed voice will dive deeper into that world and will get you practical tools into starting implementing that technique. So that's my invitation to you to keep this conversation going in that next episode. I will link to it in the description here down below. Besides that, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, for spending this time with me. And I will see you very soon. Bye.